I know what you're thinking after the scheme I pulled last video, but I promise I'm not trolling this time, because thanks to a few reviewers and YouTubers who got to play the Gen 9 games early, we have 7 minutes of brand new gameplay from Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, which I'll be giving my thoughts on today. Will Pokémon Scarlet and Violet be the best Pokémon game to date? Let's find out as we get into the 7 minutes of new gameplay, and if you guys are excited, make sure to smash that like button as we're jumping right into it with Miraidon literally jumping up these cliffs. I love that it's so seamless how you can go from the motorcycle mode to the climbing and then the gliding. You can see the player jumps off the cliff and then as he's falling triggers the gliding. So I wonder if there will actually be a button press to activate that, or if it happens automatically if you jump from a certain height. But another thing you probably noticed is all of the wild Pokemon in this game appear in the overworld, and it's actually been confirmed there are no longer going to be random encounters in the grass as we saw in Pokemon Sword and Shield and of course every generation before that. This is going to be more like Pokemon Legends Arceus, where every Pokemon encounterable is out there in the wild, and that includes even shiny Pokemon. That's right, there's going to be overworld shinies just like in Pokemon Legends, which I know not everyone's going to be too thrilled about because there's more potential that you could miss a shiny Pokemon if you just keep walking along and don't hear the little sparkle in the distance. And it also doesn't help that auto battling is a thing, and apparently Pokemon that do auto battles can accidentally kill a shiny Pokemon with no warning. In case you don't know, auto battles are a new feature in Scarlet and Violet where you can let your party Pokemon freely explore and battle whatever Pokemon they see out there in the field and basically one-shot them, making it a lot easier to grind for levels. But from what we can see in this preview, it seems that you get a lot less experience than you would from encountering and battling Pokemon the good old-fashioned way. You can also see that items in the overworld have this beam of light coming from the top to make them easier to spot. I believe regular items will have a red glow while TMs have a more yellowish glow as we saw in a past trailer. But you might have also noticed that as Bellibolt is beating down on these weaklings, we actually get some other items dropped by the Pokemon, including Lechonk's hair, which is pretty freaking weird. Like, what are you going to use a Lechonk hair for, you may be wondering? To create TMs, of course. Now this is something I'm very excited about because in past Pokemon games, there's a lot of items that you collect in the overworld that you don't really end up using. Like in Sword and Shield, we had all these items to make curry and like the watts that you had to pick up from the glowing dens. But I personally think this TM crafting mechanic is going to be way more engaging, as you're probably going to be auto battling Pokemon, walking around exploring the overworld, gather a bunch of items, and there will actually be something useful to put them towards, not just freaking sandwich ingredients. Our next bit of gameplay shows off the traditional Pokemon battles we've grown to know and love with some bangin' wild Pokemon music. That's one thing I gotta admit Pokemon never fails to impress with, is the music in these games, as our trainer goes right for the Pokeball on Lechonk. And although we don't get to see it, it is confirmed that Backstrikes from Pokemon Legends Arceus will return. Sort of. In these games, you won't be able to just walk up and throw a Pokeball to catch Pokemon like in Legends, but you can throw the Pokeball that holds your own party member at a wild Pokemon, and if you manage to hit it from behind, you actually get an advantage in battle, which I believe people that played the game have confirmed is an extra turn in battle, so you get to attack twice before the enemy even gets a chance to retaliate. The Pokemon Center is more convenient than ever, as you don't need to actually walk into a building to like interact with Nurse Joy and heal up your Pokemon. And I absolutely love the UI for when you're actually healing, how you can see all the little sprites of your party members, or I guess at this point they're not really sprites, but I hope there's like a download available for all the PNGs of these Pokemon for people to use in like YouTube layouts for Nuzlocke and stuff like that, because they are really cool. But I mentioned how it's convenient that you don't need to load into any buildings in order to heal or use the Pokemart anymore, and it's actually been confirmed that there are absolutely no loadings throughout the world of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, except for the giant city in the center known as Mesagoza. That is the only place in the whole game apparently that's going to require you to load into it. I'm assuming because the city is so vast and there's so much to explore. Like if you saw my map breakdown, there's 3 different sections to the city and also the school in the center, which I'm assuming you don't need to load separately. So there is a lot going on in this middle city. Makes sense why you have to load into it, but aside from that, the entire overworld outside of the city has no loading at all. You can just hop on Koraidon, Miraidon, glide to whenever and wherever you want right from the start of the game. And that brings me to a very important detail that we have learned thanks to all of these gameplay previews, and that is that there will be no level scaling. This also includes wild Pokemon and trainers, so in the early routes they're going to be very low level, and I'm assuming the deeper you go into the overworld, the higher level those wild encounters will get. So it kind of pushes you into taking the game on in a certain order, or at least not skipping all the way to like the Snowy Mountain, for example, which seems to be on the opposite end of where you begin your journey. Another huge change that comes with open world is trainers themselves apparently no longer challenge you when you make eye contact with them, which has been a staple of the Pokemon franchise since the very beginning. In fact, the games themselves claim that if two trainers lock eyes, then a battle must ensue. But that's no longer the case. We now have consensual Pokemon battles, as many people in my Twitter replies said, as you, the player, have to actually talk to the trainer in order to challenge them to battle. So if you don't like grinding, you can potentially skip however many trainer encounters you want and just head on to the next city. Or if you need a little bit of extra training, then you can head back to a route or a future one and take on the trainers there. So be careful wandering too far into the map, because you might accidentally talk to a trainer that's got level 50s and it's not going to end well. Now here we can see a bit more of the gameplay in Starfall Street, where of course we take on Team Star and the giant school bus looking thing, but also more of auto battling, where apparently you can send out multiple Pokemon. You can see Armarouge out there, but also on the side, Bellibolt and even Wiglet can get in there, all three at the same time, to take down these Torkoals with ease. And it seems to me like all these Pokemon go down in one hit. I'm not sure if that's guaranteed or it's just because they're very low level. But on the side, this trainer's Pokemon seem to be losing very little HP, which implies to me that they're just very low level, and that's why they go down so easily. But like I mentioned, you also get less XP, so it's not like this makes grinding super easy. As we learned in a previous trailer though, the goal here is to take down 30 of these Pokemon, and then you can take on the leader of this specific Team Star base. In this case is Team Star's Fire Crew boss, Mela. Now apparently these Team Star boss encounters will reward you with something similar to a gym badge, making it so the game kind of has 18 badges, one for each type. Of course, there's the 8 gym badges, which you would get in your usual Pokemon game, but there's also 5 for the 5 bosses of Team Star, one of which we've learned is the Fire-type boss, so you get a Fire badge of some kind, and the remaining 5 will be for the Titan Pokemon, which so far we've learned of Cloth, the Rock Titan, which I'm assuming will reward you with some type of rock badge. So I do like how these 3 grand stories have specific rewards that are actually tangible, and also there's going to be at least one boss for each and every type of Pokemon, which is really, really cool. Another big change to the overworld is the day and night cycle is no longer tied to the time in your game console. Kind of like in Pokemon Legends Arceus, where time seemed to flow a lot quicker and you could even sleep to make it into whatever time you want, which is a change that I'm sure most people should be happy with, because you no longer have to wait until it's actually nighttime in order to catch some of the Pokemon that only spawn at night or in the morning or at very, very specific times. Like, now you can get all of those Pokemon with a lot more ease. Next, we've got a little segment on raid battles, which look to be pretty similar to the raid battles we had in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but of course here, instead of Gigantamax Pokemon, we've got Terastalized Pokemon. Here it's a water-type version of Ralts. And one thing that really caught my eye during this scene is the player icons on the top left corner there. You can see Florian with a little Hoppip, Pete with a balloon Pikachu, which I think might be from Pokemon Rumble, or maybe that's a type of balloon that you can find in Mesagoza. But Ali in the top left corner has a very peculiar profile pic, which has a lot of people debating what that might actually be, myself included, which I'll play a clip of what I thought it was now. This looks like a droopy eye to me, right? And then right here, I kind of see like a snout, and then a little fang right here, a nostril, maybe the other nostril. Yo, what if this is Fuecoco's evolution though? Or maybe Ali just really loves flowers. Anyway, since we're on the topic of Terasterizing, we've actually got some new details as to exactly how it works. Here's an example I found from CentroLeaks on Twitter. I'm not sure if that was the original creator of this image, but in terms of offense, it seems that you actually retain the original 2 types or single type of the Pokemon before Terasterizing. So in the case of Charizard, its water type moves will be boosted to a 1.5 times, but its fire and flying type moves will still also receive their usual 1.5 times attack power, despite no longer being fire flying type in terms of defense. However, if a Pokemon already had that typing before Terasterizing, like if Charizard here became a fire type Terasterize, its fire type same type attack bonus goes from 1.5 to 2 times, or at least that's the approximate number people are thinking. And in case you forgot, there's a new move called Terra Blast, which every Pokemon can learn, and it turns into the type that you Terasterize into, and it's based on whether your physical or special attack is higher, so every Pokemon gets access to at least one very powerful stab move, regardless of what type they are or what they Terasterize into. It's either going to be amazing or a complete disaster, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Now, you know I'm always excited for character customization, and these games seem to have the most fleshed out customizing to date, even though a lot of people weren't too happy with the fact that you have to wear a school uniform. Now that I've seen a little bit more of the gameplay, I don't even think that's really an issue, because you get to customize your hairstyle, color, eye shape, and lashes, and even put little birthmarks and blemishes on your character unlike ever before, which means right from the start of the game, you can make your character look like what you want to look like instead of having to wait for like a boutique or a clothes shop way later on. Well, I guess the clothes you might have to wait for, but at least the character itself, like the hair, skin, and eye color, you can definitely customize a lot right from the get-go. And for the first time, all of these options are available regardless of what gender you pick at the beginning of the game. In fact, it seems like you no longer choose whether you're boy or girl at the beginning. Instead, there's a couple of preset styles you can choose from and customize from there. But according to some of the replies, based on which preset you pick are the pronouns you'll get. So no more creepy Professor Oak. Finally, the new gameplay wraps up with a little bit of Pokemon Picnic, which I've always been a fan of, these cute little interacting with Pokemon features. I mean, they're kind of harmless, but it seems like in this game, they're actually going to have a little bit more importance than usual, especially from the sandwich making. Pokemon can actually get benefits, including a boost that apparently makes shiny Pokemon more likely to appear. So I'm wondering what other kinds of boosts we might be able to get from these sandwiches. They seem pretty freaking crazy. Remind me a little bit of O-Powers in Pokemon X and Y. There was different boosts that you could get from interacting with people online. Now you get those from sandwiches. And that is all the new gameplay we've got for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet so far. I'm really curious if we're going to end up getting any more trailers, because I feel like they revealed just about everything they need to. I mean, there's a couple of surprises, of course, that I feel are best kept as surprises, but it's inevitable that eventually someone will get their hands on the full game and start leaking it all online. And I've been very conflicted on how I want to handle that, because in the past I've tried both approaches, like looking at the leaks or trying to avoid them to be surprised when the actual game comes out, but I always somehow end up seeing spoilers regardless. So I'm kind of thinking for this generation, I want to see the full Pokédex at least in order to plan ahead my team, or at least potentially know what Pokemon are going to be available in what areas, and help you guys as well plan out your teams for the Paldea region. I will, however, make sure to avoid any spoilers in the titles and thumbnails, and that includes for the playthrough, because I know in the past some people didn't really like that. So I'm going to try to make a little bit more vague this time around, so that people that don't want to get spoiled don't have to, and I can still try to upload the game as quick as possible for people that do want to see everything. That's going to do it for this video though, so let me know in the comments below what you're most excited for in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and I will catch you in the next one.